The Marcos live in a half-baked community 40 miles south of Sacramento. The town sits like an afterthought on the side of the highway, a mile from the outlets. The subdivisions are unfinished. Two-story boxes double as homes, trimmed with loud primary colors, probably to distract you from the stubby driveways and dirt lawns, McHovels, I call them. My boss and I drove up from San Francisco in a rented sedan that smelled like flop sweat and quarter pounders. We were meeting with our newest client, Carlotta. Her daughters had died in an SUV rollover. The airbags had failed, the seatbelts too. In front of the house, scratched up Tonka trucks lined the walkway like booby traps, and cigarette butts poked out of spider-mited plants. Jason walked up the stairs in front of me, kicking a toy train out of his way and sending it skittering over the edge. Carlotta was trashier than I imagined. When she opened the door, the first thing I noticed was her chest. It was a tangle of gold chains and hurt cleavage. Most prominent was an almost cross-like pendant, a B and a T intertwined and glittering with inset diamonds. She grabbed my hand in both of hers and said, "So nice to finally meet you," in a way that was so unnaturally formal and proud it licked me raw. Jason said, "What a lovely home." She beamed and stuttered, touched her hair. The house is a pigsty. TV dinner packages littered the counter, empty grocery bags carpeted the floor, a half-eaten can of cat food crusted over on the sink. Packed in the tiny kitchen were two middle-aged women with sunken, bored eyes, a teenage boy eating beef jerky, a man wearing an aquamarine muscle shirt with copper bracelets. Carlotta rattled off their names as we walked by, not stopping, not really introducing us so much as pointing out the scenery. The living room had the feel of a makeshift shrine. 8 by 11 photos of the twins in various stages of life littered every surface of the room. The girls were tall and lanky. They swam in their leotards and their soccer uniforms. Their eyes were bright and eerie. The photos surrounded us insistently, and I pulled at my skirt, yanking it down on my hips. She told us to sit down at a table in the dining room that was piled high with stacks of magazines and papers. Not an inch of wood was showing. Jason is the attorney, but the case is mine. I am a paralegal doing the work of a first-year associate. They bill me out at half an associate's rate and pay me a heartbreaking fraction of that. I tell myself it's only temporary. I'm too smart to be doing this work forever. Too morally aware to be shoveling shit in the gray area day in and day out. I do the work up on all the rollover cases, for Carlotta's just like the other plaintiffs. I get the police reports, make sure they were wearing their seatbelts, make sure no one was drinking, match the make, model, and year of the vehicle with known and successfully litigated safety defects. I talk to the mothers on the phone, wait out their crying jags, FedEx the HIPAA forms so we can get the autopsy photos. All Jason does is come to my cubicle, bend down and whisper reminders of the night before in his wife's bed. All he does is distract me. On his way out, he doubles back, says, "More pathos. Call the mother, get photos." I'm thinking, prom. They were hot little things, no? So that's exactly what I do. Rebecca and Tamara were their names, Bex and Tammy. I know more about the case than him. He was only there because in the wake of grief, people lashed themselves gladly to arrogance in a charcoal suit. But that's the way it is, and the sound of my hackles rising always reminds me I won't be able to take this for very long. I won't be a middle-aged paralegal attending the company Christmas party like it's the fucking Oscars, decked out and drunk on bulk wine, my dress and the unfamiliar feeling of equality competing for shiniest illusion of the night. We asked Carlotta about the accident, cleared up a few questions that were too upsetting to ask over the phone. Were the girls drinking that night? Did they have a history of partying? That sort of thing. They weren't driving, so from a legal standpoint, the drinking didn't matter. But from a money standpoint, it mattered. The case wouldn't go to trial anyway, so it was all about upping the settlement amount. Virginal innocence played much better in mediation than girls with a history of shoplifting and amateur porn. These questions had to be asked so we didn't get our asses handed to us in an airless room by some fat, shiny corporate prick. I moved uncomfortably in my seat and realized that something beneath me was crinkling. I took a newspaper clipping out from under me and squinted at it, looking at Carlotta. "Bex got third place in science fair last year," she said, pointing to the photo. "She tested the effects of Red Bull on fruit flies." "Can I take it with me?" I asked. She gave me a puzzled look, and I told her it was for the economic expert. for an analysis of projected lifetime earnings. The confused look persisted, so I continued. These earnings help us determine the settlement amount. Loss of earnings, loss of income, loss of livelihood. These are the words we use. Dust hung in the light that sprayed across the table in thin shards. We all sat quietly in the sickening space where a child's life has been quantified in terms of dollars. Then he saved me. He took Carlotta's hand and covered it with his soft, boyish palm. His face slackened earnestly, and when he reached across the table, his shirt cuffs pulled back to reveal a muscled forearm. I've seen him do it before, but every time I believe him. He squeezed Carlotta's hand gently, and our knuckles crunched together. I know this is hard, but the right thing is not always the easy thing. Getting all this information makes it more likely that they'll settle and admit they were wrong. He said it with conviction, and I knew he meant it. The car company we're suing has deep pockets, but they also have a well-documented history of fucking over the consumer, selling unsafe vehicles for bottom dollar to the bottom rung. Just as there is a bit of truth in every stereotype, there's a bit of righteousness in every ambulance chaser. Carlotta's head bent down and she began weeping softly. She looked as if this had been happening a lot lately. Now that her eyes were no longer on him, Jason looked satisfied with himself. That look turned quickly to boredom. I removed the contract from my briefcase and put it on the table in front of her. Of course you can take your time with this. Look it over, FedEx it back to us whenever you like, I said. Call me if you have any questions. The room was sun-baked and dusty, and I could feel the sweat start to collect behind my knees and between my breasts. Jason had removed his hand from Carlotta's and began fiddling with his collar. We looked at each other like, let's get the hell out of here. Out in the driveway, he threw his leather-bound folder into the back seat, undid his tie. She was kind of hot, huh? He said. I took off my nylons. They were itchy and practically soaked in sweat. I propped my legs up on the dash and turned the AC on high. For a 45-year-old, he said, pushing past my rolling eyes. Yeah, I guess if you're into trashy, sure. I bet she's dirty, he said, as he backed the car out of the stubby driveway, banging the muffler on the curb. Did you see her licking her lips, he said? It was either me or the money. He flashed a hard-charging grin and I smiled back and shook my head in faux disgust. You're sick, I said. What do you think those people were lurking around for? The weird boyfriend? They're horny for it. It was then that I saw Carlotta standing in the window. Her hand was pulled to her chest, and she rubbed the necklace between her thumb and forefinger, looking hopeful and absent at the same time. Without missing a beat, Jason put the car into gear and reached between my legs. Not everybody is mercenary, I said. God, you're hot, he said. Naive and hot. I took off my seatbelt and moved closer and wondered for a moment why I always found myself saying things to him that I didn't believe.